of the lecture, third lecture, 22nd of September 2022. Okay, so we're going to
Yeah, we're recording.
so basically it's after that question, another question is what are the examples of non-empirical research? You can refer this to the lecture notes and get the answer. And then more information on rationalism and empiricism.
Okay, I'll check that out.
And the rest are all examples of the non-empirical.
Shall we finish the lecture slides for today?
Yeah, this is finished. Okay.
Sure.
So I want to go over another part, another short lecture.
Sure.
This will be quite brief, not as I don't. Sorry. This is basically talking about guidelines. Oh no, it's not here.
Not uploaded.
Okay. So have you met Ji Ning before this?
No.
Not in your other classes?
No.
I think the university will not let you access until you pay, because I was.
For me, I've paid already.
Yeah.
I'm just
so
waiting for ICT team.
Yeah, so I was asking, the admin assistant was activating the M team for me so that I can operate it by myself. And then we saw another name, Jining. Then it says pending. So I told the girl, I said, why don't you just add him? Because it doesn't do him any good if he doesn't come in. But we can withhold the results, at the end. Or rather than say not begin until you pay, right? So we added him in, and that's why he was in. I hope he will join us next week. Okay, so
perhaps his internet connection or something.
Yeah, I think it's this one. So this is talking about some guidelines for us to basically talking about the parts in a scientific paper and what it entails. So we have to look at the title of a manuscript or article. So the title should contain 3 elements. The name, the phenomena that you're studying, the phenomenon studied, the particular aspect of system studied, and the variables that are manipulated. It should be in your title. So let's say the title of a chapter in a book. It says UKM, Fulbright, Scholar, Experiences. So this is the title of the book, original title. And I'm one of the contributor. I'm contributing a chapter to this book. So when the editor told us in our WhatsApp group that this is the title that they have chosen, my immediate response was, Doesn't say much. It's a bit
Yep.
a bit boring. What is it? What is it that you want to know about this, right? So this is an example of not a good title, but so how to make it? How to make it more interesting? So I say UKM Fulbright scholars and Fulbright program. Bridging the bridging research, I think. Bridging current research. So if you look at the first title, it's very bland. But the second title actually say who are the people? They are Fulbright. They are UKM scholars having the Fulbright experience and the Fulbright program. So the Fulbright program is a program from the US, funded by the US government. And it involves the UKM scholars. So I say UKM Fulbright scholars and Fulbright program, bridging current research. So to me, what do you think about what do you think about the two titles?
The first title tells me that I'm just researching on the scholars, Fulbright scholars who are from UKM's experiences. That's it. So it's if I want something to pass my time, then yeah, I'll read this one. Whereas UKM Fulbright scholars and Fulbright program, so you're telling me that more detail about the program, the students, the scholars taking the program, where they are from and their background and different mixes and how they come together, bridging current research or researchers. So they have come from different backgrounds and they're coming together for one course, or from a different background to another more specific field. So what are their experiences to overcome the challenges of not having the perhaps background knowledges? So this one is more of a
More
research
informative,
title. Yes, more
more
informative.
informative. Because Fulbright program is a US funded program and they bring the Malaysian scholars to the US to spend like 4 months or 6 months, 4 to 6 months, and do research there. So it could be research on Malaysian data, but collaborating with the professors in the US universities to further the research, to introduce the scope, let's say. So it's bridging. Yeah.
Do the scholars go to like their state universities or private universities? Or
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but
there's a choice?
they must be, the professor who's hosting their visit should be a person in the field, that field of study. So you first apply based on your proposed topic, right? Proposed research proposal. And then based on that, the committee, the interview board will choose the best proposal. And then you have to choose someone in the US who will be your host for 4 months or 6 months. And that person should be a person working in that area.
But if you don't know the host or the candidates for the host, how are you going to choose?
It's based on the the literature, the work that the work that has been done in the field on that title. So let's say if I ask you, one way of looking is if I read an article and I look at the references, the list of references. So I'll find, I can actually see who is playing a big part of the research in that field by looking at the references, by the number of references that are being made to that author, you know. You try. I will, okay, for your homework, I think we don't have time to do the, to read and to analyze, but you can, I'll give, the reading that I gave you is more extra reading.
Okay.
For this week, and then and then you can take any journal articles in the area of education. Let's say you're doing education, right?
Yep.
So you take an article and you look at the introduction, how the author does the introduction, and give a critique on that. Okay, so part of the work is actually looking at the title also. So you look at the title and then you look at the introduction and see. And what's your comment on that? Okay.
Okay.
So then he gives we give the example of variations of a title on a theme. So you could do, for example, the effect of temperature on germination of corn. Or otherwise, you can also make it into a question. Does temperature affect germination of corn? And then you can focus more, focus on the main area of concern, which is temperature and corn germination. And then you're looking at implications for agriculture. So it's more informative based on compared to the first two. The third is quite focused,
yes,
and has a wider implication.
Yes.
So sometimes it's possible to include the principal result or conclusion in the title. So you can also say high temperatures reduce germination of corn. But I think I would like the third one. Actually.
Yes, the third one is more university kind of standard, whereas the question would be more of question, and the first one would be more secondary or degree level titles.
Okay. And then we go to the abstract. The abstract is a very important part of the article. They always say that the frontliner, if you go to a company, the people at the front desk, that's the frontliner. If you go to the hospital, is that the registration area, that's the frontliner. So for an abstract, for a journal article, the abstract is the frontliner. The abstract, it does the effect, or it kills the effect, basically. So before you actually read the whole article, you actually read the abstract when you're choosing the articles, whether it's suitable to what you're looking at. You will look at the abstract. So the abstract is a very precise, concise, condensed description of the entire work. It's only 150 to 200 words. So sometimes I see, let's say if I'm examining a thesis, people do like 3 pages of abstract. No, that's not done. Only 1 page, and it's about at most 200 words, and it's very precise. It's a self-contained unit capable of being understood without the benefit of the text. And why is this so? Because it has to contain these 4 elements. You must tell us the purpose of the study. So what is the central question that you are addressing? You will also tell us a brief description of what was done, which is the methods carried out in the study. You will also tell us a brief statement of what was found, which is the results. And then a brief statement of what was concluded in the study, what was the findings. And a bit, maybe a 1 line of conclusion or implication of the study. So yeah, something to look out for. Maybe you want to look at the abstract also. Introduction. So the introduction used to be before that you have the introduction and then you have the literature review, which they will say literature review. But increasingly, I see nowadays, you don't have the literature review. It's just an introduction. So basically, they have combined the introduction with the literature review. So the function of the introduction is to present the question being asked and place it in the context of what is already known about the topic. Background information that suggests why the topic is of interest and related findings by other scientists are also mentioned here. So I think the introduction is to set the setting of the article. It gives you the problem. Usually people give statistics. Prevalence study found that 10% of kids in school are having difficulties in reading, let's say. So you present that statistics to spark, to ignite the interest, you know. You can also talk about the problems associated with social media, for example, among adolescents. So you give us the statistics of research that has looked at this in particular, but not much has been done on adolescent in Malaysia, for example. So in other words, this section should contain a description of the nature of the problem and the current state of knowledge or understanding. A statement of the purpose, scope, and general method of investigation in your study, your hypothesis and your prediction. And the whole introduction is meant to introduce your reader to your research. This is you should not summarize and evaluate past literature on this subject here. This is done in chapter 2, literature review. But just enough, not too much, not too little, but just enough to introduce the problem and why you should do it. And then at the end of the introduction, there will be a statement of purpose. So the statement of purpose expresses the central question you're asking and thus presents the variable you're investigating. So for example, you say, therefore, this study investigates the relationship between these two things. The purpose of the study is to determine the effect of. So write this section in the past or present. But I think it's mostly in present if you're talking about what you're going to do in this study, but never in the future. Okay, then after you have set the setting and the problem, then the method is very important. The function of this section is to describe all your study procedure, experimental procedure. If you have a control group, controls, it should be complete so that someone else can replicate this study, because people reading your article might want to do it on their population. If there is more than one part of the experiment, it's a good idea to describe your methods and present the results in the same order in each section. So sometimes the study is quite complex, so you want to in the method, basically what you have described in the method, you will correspond it to your results. You know, like stage. Sometimes, I think sometimes, but usually in the results, you go by your objective and your research question. Okay, but
kind of, yes.
Yeah. So what is important about your method is you need to tell is your study design. What kind of study design is it?
Yes.
Sampling. What kind of sampling in order to achieve your sample size? Random sampling, certification. Very important. Explain your instrument and data collection or elicitation. So you will actually list the instruments that you are doing. Sometimes you have to say there are instruments for screening, meaning you want to get the baseline data and you do some initial testing to group the subjects into groupings, for example. And then you do your actual data, actual instrument. And then you also explain how your data will be analyzed. So usually sometimes I tell my students maybe a table might do the trick by putting your research question, your objective, and your data collection and data analysis in one table so that people can see that, oh, so let's say the first objective, how are you going to collect the data? And then how are you going to analyze the data based on the objective? So it's very clear. Explain why each procedure was done. What variable were you measuring and why? This is very important for you to explain in chapter 3. And then reliability and validity measures. This means that you are telling the reader that your study is reliable because you use valid measures. So, for example, reliability could be a iterator. Iterator means, let's say you do the first testing, and then I come in as a second rater and do the test on the same, let's say you choose 5% of your population, six kids or 6 students, let's say. So you will test the whole, let's say 30 subjects or 40 subjects. And then I will come in and take 6 students from what you've tested. I will take it and I'll test them again. And then we compare the results and see whether they are similar or not. They should be similar. If they are similar, that means your test is very reliable.
Same students. Same 6 students.
The 6 students?
The same participants, or do I take same amount of participants from different area?
So when you do a test retest, that means it's two testers. Let's
two
say,
testers, but the participants are the samples are the same?
Yeah, samples are the same. Iterator means it doesn't matter who does the test. It will give similar results. So that means the tool, the instrument that you use is very reliable. And then the other one is test retest. Test retest is you as a tester, you test the 40 kids, and then you take like 10% of them, 6 let's say, and you do the same test on them. So this is actually a test of time, you know, like you do the first time, 2 weeks after that, you test again. And if the results are similar, then the instrument is good and your results are good, you know. So these are the tests that we can do. Validity measures. So you have place validity. Place validity is, let's say you come up with a survey or you do a question, an interview question. You get a panel of experts to look at the material of the test that you are constructing, developing, and they will give you comments on whether you can achieve what you want to achieve based on what you have. It's clear, the instructions are clear, the contents are valid. So you'll go through maybe 3 or 4 experts from different related areas to look at your tool, you know. So this is called phase validity. So this is part of your validity measures. You can also do a pilot as validity because you're testing, you're trialing out your instruments to make sure that it works, it's clear, not ambiguous. You can also do a construct validity. This one is looking at the subparts of the test, whether subparts contribute to the overall score. So this is internal validity. Then we also say gold standard validity. Let's see if I'm doing a test. I take an existing test that measures the same thing that I'm testing. Let's say I'm testing language. This is standardized test, not the there are two tests, right? As a teacher, you would know. There's a criterion-based test, and there's the normative-based test. So the criterion is the one that you use in your classroom. That means you construct tests or quizzes based on your content area, and you test the child. You test a child, and you have 100% marks for the test. And it's based on the topics or the concepts that you have or the things that you have taught the students, and you test them on that. And their answers will be compared to your schema answers, you know. Then you give them 80% or something. That's criterion based because it's based on the content, the criterion. The other side of testing is standardized testing. Standardized testing is a test which is developed based on the many scores of that population. So let's say I have a standardized language test of Malay, let's say. So I've tested this test over 500 kids. And then I've achieved the reliability and the validity of the test. And then someone else can now use the test to test kids of that age. So that's called normative test because it's based on the norms. So let's say if I am I'm coming up with a test, another test to measure language, Malay language, for example, and then I use the existing test to give it to the student. You know, so I'm testing language, so I'm developing a test, but I'm also administering the standard, the gold standard, the test that is out there, that can be used, you know. So then you are doing the gold standard test. That means if the results are similar to the gold standard existing test, then your newly developed prototype or test is good. That's the validity. Yeah, something like that. So etc. So you will make sure, because you want to publish in journals. They want to know what's your reliability and validity scores are to support your data. Okay, so that's the method. And then here we always use active rather than passive when possible.
Definitely.
Always use singular I rather than the plural we if you are the only author. But sometimes we can be we plural. It can be also we singular. You know, when we say we, it can also mean singular for the paper. So throughout the paper, avoid contractions. Yeah, this is because this is scientific writing. Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to close the bracket for number 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. Results. We present our major results. So that means we, based on our objective and based on our research question, the way we present our results is what's our first objective. And that's the result of the first objective will be the first result that we will present. So basically the whole function of this section is to summarize general trends in the data that the researcher sees in the data. You don't need to comment, not yet. You comment in the discussion, but you can just make statements about the data that you're presenting, but not evaluating yet. And here, if you're doing a quanti, you will actually tell us what test you are using and present the results as according to the convention of quantitative reporting. Of course, people use figures and tables, but after the figures or before or after the figures and tables, there should be a summary of what you want people to focus on in the table. It should be understandable, very clear, according to the convention of reporting figures and tables. I think we said this, present major findings. All results should be presented, including those that do not support the hypothesis. So let's say if your second objective, it did not support the hypothesis, which was with second objective, you should report it also. All, so you should report by all. Okay. Then you come to the discussion. So the function of this section is to analyze the data and relate them to other studies. So to analyze means to evaluate the meaning of your results in terms of the original question or hypothesis and point out their biological significance, basically. Because research is always how is your study in comparison to other studies before you? So once you've got your data and you analyze and now you want to discuss, you should compare it with the other studies. So if your results are similar, then you can cite results, studies which are similar to your results. You know, you should also report studies which do not support your results. And then if, let's say, your results contradict with the results from the prior research, you should explain also why, how is it that your results are different. So you might want to say, because the population that I took was mainly female, let's say, whereas the other studies, they looked at all male and female. So you have to support your. So it should contain at least the relationship between the results and the original hypothesis. Yeah, integration of your results with those of previous studies in order to arrive at explanation. Basically, the discussion is very important because you are interpreting your results. You are interpreting your results and placing it before other studies so that you want to come up with a wholesome explanation for your research. Possible explanation for unexpected results in observation. Phrase as hypothesis that can be tested by realistic experimental procedures which you should describe. Yeah. Okay. Trends that are not statistically significant can still be discussed if they are suggestive or interesting, but cannot be made the basis for conclusion as if they were significant. So that does not mean that if it's not significant, it's useless. Sometimes it does prove a point for further research, or it does suggest something that you did not think about, but it came out like that, you know. So that's why they say consider both. Avoid redundancy between the results and the discussion section. Do not repeat detailed description of the data. So some people, they want to summarize the data, the results. Don't. Because when we read it, you will definitely have to go back to your results and see what was your first finding, and then go to the research and try to follow the discussion on that result. So no need to put it in the discussion. No need to put the results in the discussion. In some journals, results or discussions are joined in a single section in order to permit a single integrated treatment with minimal repetition. So it depends on the journals. So that's why we always, when we are writing a manuscript, we always look for the journals first. You window shop, you window shop possible journals. And then you have to see the instruction to authors, how the journals, journals articles in that journal, what are the contents, how the formatting, how they arrange things. You need to follow to the T, the format that's used by the journal. If not, they might just reject on technicality, you know. So always say to students that if you're drafting for you, usually when you draft for articles, it's part of your thesis. So you have to change the format from thesis format to academic writing, because thesis format tends to be too academic, too structured. You know you're reading a thesis, you know? But
Yes.
when you change that to a thesis, to an article, it's more, it has a different lingo, different format to it.
It's
Okay.
more like a newspaper kind of lingo, but it's more formal than newspaper
Yes.
article, right?
Yes, yes.
My problem with my degree thesis was that I repeated my results and discussions. So there it was very messy to read.
But so it was in your thesis.
Yeah.
Did you by any chance publish it? And
No. I was too upset and embarrassed about it.
okay.
Yeah.
You mean during, did you have to submit it, or do you submit and have a viva? Oral defense, no?
Oral presentation. Yes.
We did an oral presentation. Some programs, even undergrad, I think for health or medical, they have a viva even for undergrads, where the students will present and they will be asked questions and they have to defend. It's like a viva.
It was completely all over the place because I couldn't differentiate what was results, discussions, or findings, and I forgot another part. And then basically it was a mess of writing. I don't understand the format of thesis writing. And then when I was questioned by the lecturers, I got even more confused. So I mean, I did pass, but I wasn't very happy with what I produced, and because I myself don't even understand what I wrote. It was that bad.
Right. So but you pass.
Fortunately.
Yeah,
Yes.
fortunately. Okay. But it's a learning experience. So it's actually what you learn out of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then you end the discussion with a summary of your main points that you want the reader to come back with, to go home with. It's also appropriate to actually suggest for further studies. What you did not manage to do, you can suggest for further studies. And also implication of the results of your study to the area, to the individuals or contribution. Yeah, so basically, let me look if I can find a journal.
Professor, will you be sharing these slides? And
Yeah. I'll put it in the MS team.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Dyslexia. The language choice. Let's see this one. Language choice and Malaysian public universities. Yes, I'll share. Yeah. So basically, language choice is basically what language you choose to speak. You know, so at any point in time, we decide what language we unconsciously we do. We decide what language we want to use, which variety of the language. We want to do Malaysian English, or we want to do Standard English. We want to speak Chinese, we want to speak Malay, we want to speak dialects, for example. So those are the choices. And what is the Malaysian? Okay. Let's look at the abstract. Okay. So this is about 200 words. So you notice that the author introduces the topic, basically saying multilingual, multicultural people speak at least 2 or more languages. Because you have to speak 2 or more to choose, right? You can't speak one and choose, no. You have to speak. So he is, the author is actually creating the setting for us. Then Malaysian multilingual situation resulted in speakers having to make decisions about which languages are to be used for different purposes in different domains. So this is explaining the language choice because of this multicultural, multilingual, different purpose, different domains. In order to explain the phenomenon of language choice, Fishman domain analysis was adapted. So this is the theory, the tool. So then you define a little bit about Fishman. According to Fishman's domain analysis, language choice and use may depend on the speaker's experiences situated in different settings, different language repertoires, means what languages you know, that are available to the speaker, different interlocutors, that means who you speak with, and different topics. So topic about what? Anime is different from topic about research, right? In class. So the different topics will entail different language choice. Okay, but however, so they finish with the explanation, the definition. Finish with the definition. Then the problem comes. Such situations inevitably cause barriers and difficulties to those professionals who work in the education domain. And this is the introduction of the problem. Then the problems, the problem statements. Therefore, the purpose of this research is to explore the language choice and use of Malaysian public university lecturers in education and to investigate whether any significant differences exist between the different different lecturers with different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, different field of study, in terms of the English language choice and the use of the English language of the lecturers. And then now is the method. 200 survey questionnaire were distributed, just like that, to examine the details of the lecturer's language choice and use. And then the findings. The findings reveal that they generally prefer to choose and use English in both formal and informal. Respondents claim that they choose and use more than one language. Also found that ethnicity and fields of study influence the language choice and use In addition, this research suggested that the language education, this is already implication,
Okay.
suggestion, conclusion, suggested language and education policy makers have been largely successful in raising the role and status of the English language as the medium of instruction in universities, and maintaining that Malay language as having an important role in the communicative acts, like thus characterizing the lecturer's language choice and use. Okay. So this is the introduction. I think introduction, background of the research. Oh, research. I don't quite like this kind of format. Which journal is this? Advances in Language and Literary Studies. It looks like a thesis actually. And you have the, 1.1 background research. It looks like a mini thesis. And then 1.3 objective. If you look at, let's see other studies, this. I'm opening up another. Okay, this one. Okay, so I'm going to share and show you another one.
I realize I enjoy reading about code switching and multilingualism compared to more of research findings on teaching methods.
Yeah, it's quite dry, isn't it?
Very, very.
So let's say this is the another paper, the introduction. So it doesn't have any, shouldn't have any sections like subsection like this now. I think that it's a bit more like a mini thesis. So basically, it tells about what it is, and then what people say about it, and then talk about still definition. It's a title. It's a title. It's a chapter in the book. Multilingualism and language choice in domains. The abstract says that focus of this book chapter is to succinctly present the sociolinguistic aspects of language choice and use of multiple speakers in various domains. Besides concepts such as bilingualism and multilingualism and their dynamics have been critically reviewed and presented from theoretical empirical. Sounds like a review study. Review studies means they look at other research and they summarize.
Yep.
So now explaining about the talking about all these researchers referring to what multilingual is. So it depends on the type of paper that you're writing. Still with the definition. And they're talking about bilingualism and multilingualism are normal. In this chapter, I use the term multilingualism to refer to the routine use of two or more. That means two is also multilingual.
To this author.
And then he talks about, so I think this is a review paper, actually talking about language and sociolinguistics. Okay.
It's a bit less interesting.
Yeah, but linguistic, multilingualism. viewpoints. What is multilingualism? So I think it's just a review paper, not a study. So let's go back to that the first paper and see what was the rest of it. Oh no, this one. Sorry. You can see it. Can you see the I'm opening the first paper just now.
I only see your file folder. Is it called file folder? Yeah.
You should be seeing the paper.
The PDF? No.
No. You should be seeing the actual article. This is the join. I already open it. Try again. This one. Okay. So the introduction is quite very detailed actually. Background.
I'll probably search for this one to read for fun.
I'll send it to you. No problem.
Oh yes, please, thank you. It's
So
only
research
12
objective.
pages.
Yeah. Theoretical framework. Where's the method? Findings. This is the method. Material and methods. So that means prior to that, after the that means this one. This is the introduction. So that means this is page
2.
Page 2.
2 of 12.
It's the page.
Yep, up there. Next to the arrow, up and down.
2 of 12.
Page 2 of 12. So 2
But
pages of
probably
introduction.
because they're doing it, I think a single spacing. But I don't know. But I thought but you can do it. You can decide. You can maybe I think for next week maybe you can look at two different styles of introduction and give some comment. And which do you think is better?
I will be
You
a
look at
bit
the
more
abstract,
biased when it
abstract
comes
and
to
introduction. Be biased? Why?
and whether or not I like the topic. If I like the topic, I don't mind the fonts.
Okay, so I think so that's the homework. And
Yep.
then next week is 4th week. I think on the 5th week you can do a quiz. The part of the assessment is having a quiz. So I think the 5th class you can have a quiz 2 weeks from now. And
written quiz?
It's the written quiz, yeah.
Is it a short answer or long answer?
A mix, I think.
Okay.
There's only 1 or 2 of you, so I can do a. I find that doing MCQ is harder actually when you are developing the question, but easy to mark.
Yes.
Harder to construct, easy to mark. Essay is easy to construct, harder to mark
Yes.
because you have to read. But if you have like 100 scripts, of course, but if you have only 1 or 2, that's no problem. So I have a mix of it. So maybe the discussion just now about the differences between natural science and social science, and that's a good question. You know, the differences. Okay.
Yes.
So we will end now, and then
Sure.
yeah, I will put it on the M-Team main page, main screen for this course.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll see you next
So,
week.
for my homework, shall I be doing it on this article that you'll be sending me? Or do you want me to do it based on probably one of those that I'm reviewing for my proposal? To
Yeah,
make it
you
easy.
could. It depends on you. You could do it on your own articles. Yeah, maybe do it on your own articles on your topic that you're doing. Take 2 articles and compare how they do their introduction. Abstract and introduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Journal articles, compare and okay, 2 parts.
Alright.
Sure.
Okay.
I will try to do
So
that.
you will do on your own articles, eh?
Yeah, sure. No
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, so I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Do I see you
Bye-bye.
in on campus next week, or do I see you online as well?
I don't know. I think it's more convenient online. No point in staying back till 9. The
Okay,
journey
so
is quite
online as well.
far. Yeah. Because just now when you asked me, I asked them, because there's only you, so they say it's okay. But if it's with other people, then but I think they are also not on site. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because I've asked Dr. Ding and she hasn't gotten back to me yet.
Mm,
That's
okay.
why. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I prefer
Oh,
online. See you
okay.
online next week. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye bye.
Bye.